Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Aurora City Council's Committee of the Whole meeting. It is Monday, October 12th, 2015. Ms. Fox, please call the roll.
Ms. Barner?
Present.
Ms. Grandullo?
Here.
Mr. Hafford?
Here.
Mr. Horvath?
Here.
Mr. Kovach?
Present.
Mr. Cudley?
Here.
Ms. McDougal?
Present.
Mr. Vaca? And Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Hawks. First item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the September 28th, 2013 meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve those minutes. Any comments, questions, or additions?
Abstain. Do I do
Okay.
that now?
Ooh, one of them, yeah.
Okay.
All in favor of those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
And one abstention. What's it? I don't have those minutes. Yeah, okay, thank you. Mr. Kovach will abstain. All right, moving on to new business, we have three items. The first is the appropriation of funds for tree planting in the Yorkshire Estates. Dean? You're getting the point, the finger
I'm getting the
pointed.
finger pointed at me. Mr. Chairman, members of council, this issue goes back a while. As you know, this development originally, I think, was platted and started about 10 years ago. The original developer went out of business and the property was transferred a couple of times. We've been working to get the streets dedicated with Mr. True, Ms. Januska, as well as some of the items completed. We actually met out there about a year ago, the councilman, Mr. Horvath, Mr. True and I, as well as the developer and their legal counsel, to try to get them to a point where we needed to be. The $20,000 is a payment from Dries Homes for the planting of trees this spring. As you know, our ordinances require any new property or any new home built that 2 trees are to be planted. This, in lieu of them planting it, they wrote the check to the city, and the city will purchase the trees and plant them in the spring. In addition to that, we're very close to getting a bond from the developer to get the street dedicated. Mr. True and I were on a call with them today, so we made significant progress, but we're not at the finishing line yet. But this is just the first part of this.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This may be the first in a series of such tree plantings because we have found in the past that the developers may not have planted the appropriate trees and they cause trouble with other infrastructure down the road. And so we are looking at possibly creating like a developer's tree fund or something along those lines where the developer would make the contribution to the city and the city, under the guidance of our arborist, would actually plant the trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I call on council, do we have a motion to forward this to council's regular agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. McDougal?
Thank you, Councilman Cudley. Yeah, just to reiterate what the mayor said, in our neighborhood, we have issues with sidewalks because the wrong trees are planted. In fact, I think our arborist is coming through to cut some roots to keep that from getting any worse. But because we have an arborist that knows how big trees actually get for the proper tree lawn, this is a really good thing. It's going to save the city a lot of money in the future because we're not going to have this issue so much with overcrowded sidewalks and sidewalks that break because the tree just wasn't supposed to be there. So I'm glad to see that the city's taking ownership for which trees get planted and which tree lawn. And I think we'll in the long run, this is a great thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Horvath? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to take a couple minutes to thank Mr. DePiero and also Mr. True. Like Mr. DePiero said, we went out there probably about a year ago, went through the whole development. Even prior to that year, it took us several months just to find out who we need to talk to because we couldn't find this guy. This guy was no longer around. Everybody had gone away. So we just got to the right people, which was Dries Homes, and just stayed with them. And it looks like everything is settled. Well, so far, so good. And it looks like this may be completed here by the end of the year. So Gentlemen, thank you very much, because it took a lot of time, and I didn't know which way to go half the time. but you guys always seem to find the right people. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Horvat. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of forwarding this to council's regular agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item B is a contract with Excel K-9 Police K-9 Program. It's being asked that this be forwarded to council for action this evening. Do we have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Mr. DePiero?
Mr. President, or Mr. Chairman, Chief Byard contacted myself about a half hour ago. He's out on a emergency call in the city, so I will, myself and the mayor will try to answer any questions, but there is a memo attached describing the program. I know it's been well publicized, as well as a proposed agreement. The mayor has worked with the chief to bring the K-9 unit back to the city. As you know, there are some donations that have been involved as well, from private donations. Currently, this is the training agreement with the K-9 service, the K-9 training center. I will tell you, this is a well-known, many of the departments throughout Northeast Ohio employ this agency to train their dogs. And it's good to see that they've done that here in Aurora. The agreement's attached. The total cost of the dog and the training is $11,800. I believe it's a 6-week school that the dog, Nero, and its handler are attending for training. And then there's a number of follow-up training sessions that go with the contract. So be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. McDougall?
Thank you, Councilman Cudley. I just want to make sure everybody knows that it was the Rotary Group of Aurora and at their last taste event that did an auction to raise money for this. So glad to see that it's actually happening and so quickly. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no further comments or questions, all in favor of forwarding this to council for action this evening, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Our last item under new business is the easement agreement with West Garfield LTD. It's being asked that this be forwarded to council for action this evening also. Can I have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. DePiero?
Mr. Chairman, this is yet another one of the easements for the city connectivity program, Phase 1. So we're putting this before you, the same as many of the other agreements that you've seen, and hopefully not the last of the agreements that you'll see.
Any comments or questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. That brings us to the end of our agenda, and seeing Mr. Baca's not here, we can get out quick, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.